Today I'm out in the shop and I'm going to troubleshoot and replace a noise on my accessory drive belt, my Serpentine belt on my engine. Now this is on a 2005 Ford F-150 with the 5.4 liter, but this applies to any 2004 to 2008 F-150 and probably really any Ford with a Serpentine belt, probably back from the mid 80s on. I suspect that it's one of my pulleys that's making a noise. It makes a high-pitched squeal when the temperature outside is down around 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So I anticipate it to be one of the pulleys or the tensioner pulley. But we're going to start with removing the air inlet tube. And on my truck, it's just one 10mm head-size bolt to remove that. So we're going to loosen the accessories drive belt, and I did this in a video to replace my alternator a couple years ago, but let me show you again. To remove the drive belt or loosen it, I'm going to attempt to loosen it and not take it all the way off so it's easier to put back on. You just need a 1/2-inch drive, either a breaker bar or a long ratchet to pry on this tensioner bracket, and this is a new one. I'm going to pry on the one in the truck and loosen the belt. Like I said, I have a high-pitched whine when it gets really cold. Oftentimes on this truck, when the pulleys are going bad, it sounds like a blower drive whine. It sounds like a high-pitched whine that changes in pitch with the RPM of the truck. But look at this, if I can show this to you. I just spotted it as I'm taking off the belt. Look at this pulley, if you can see it, getting in the way here. It's starting to wear right here. Instead of wearing on its normal wear pattern, it's starting to wear out here. So I suspect this pulley's bad, and that's the one just to the driver's side or the left side of the alternator. Let's take the belt off and take a look at it. We can spin it. As I attempt to spin these, they all sound pretty good. My power steering pump is new within the last year, and my alternator is fairly new. Not hearing anything on the power steering pump. This pulley that I suspected spins pretty free. Doesn't sound too noisy. One over on the right side. It's pretty good. It's not loose. You know, they have a little rock in them anyway from the when they're new, but yeah, that one's not new. I still suspect this one on the left side might be a little dry. Sure turns easy. One on the bottom, that inside ribbed one, feels pretty good too. Feels tighter than the other two. Not sure how many miles are on each of these. To look in my maintenance logbook. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this one on the left since I'm here. This is just a 13mm head size bolt. I use a 13mm socket. So 13mm head size bolt with a large washer that's captive on it. It doesn't come off. Sometimes you can see that it's rubbed on that timing chain cover, but in this case I don't think that's even the case. Looks pretty good. So you don't want to let these go too long. They can rub a hole in that timing chain cover and you'll have an oil leak. So just hit that bolt with a wire brush. Put a little anti-seize to protect the head on it to keep it from corroding. I got anti-seize on my fingers, so I had to make sure I wipe off the pulley so it doesn't get on the belt. Make sure we don't cross thread it. It's threading into aluminum. It's got lots of threads, so it's got lots of holding power going into the aluminum, but and make sure you get it started. Do it with your fingers so you don't get cross thread. See? Sure that surface is clean. I don't want it getting on my belt. And here's the tip of taking the belt on and off is you take it off the alternator. Since it's on the peak, it'll slip on and off the alternator fairly easy. and that's the point to start and to finish up. There we go. Now the grease inside is allowing it to not spin freely, or as freely as it could. So, and it's a lot tighter, but see, there is still a little bit of wiggle left in it. I went ahead and replaced both sides, the left and right side pulleys. Now it's just a matter of getting the belt back on in the proper orientation. And notice I'm pulling it up here in the center by the alternator. It's going to have to go over the alternator. So I want to make sure all my ribs are engaged down in the AC compressor, and they're not, but I can wiggle it, move it over till it is. I don't want to have to start the engine and have it try to find its home position. I want to put it there to start with. And it's hard to reach with the hoses. Go. Finger down there so you can feel it. Get that first. And the crank pulley. Make sure that looks okay. And then power steering pump, which is easily accessible. Put that down around there. Just a little tension in the hand. And I think I got it. So tension with my hand, and then release the tension from the tensioner pulley by pushing down on it, pushing to the right on my breaker bar, get it up around the alternator, make sure all the ribs, anything that has ribs, including this pulley, the crankshaft sits in there pretty nice, and the AC compressor all fitting in, and that's it. Of course, now would be a good time to replace your drive belt if it's worn. Mine's only got about 15,000 miles on it, so I'm not going to replace it. I'm not changing my inside ribbed pulley, but if you are changing it, it's the same 13mm head size bolt to replace it. Same procedure for replacing it. If you're replacing the tensioner pulley and the tensioner assembly, it's just 3 mounting holes, 3 mounting bolts. Three 10mm head size bolts, and then the assembly just pulls off the timing chain cover. Now that concludes the video. If you found it helpful, let me know in the comments, and please subscribe.